Hi, this is Kim Benton. I'm the Cherokee County Horticulture Extension Agent, and I am here to walk with you through the elements of your garden that would involve insects, disease, and some tips on watering. Just ways to keep your garden healthy and happy. I know we all want a crop that looks like this, and this is absolutely possible. East Texas can grow some amazing vegetables, so let's see what we can do to keep your garden healthy and happy. I love this picture. It's a great example of an East Texas garden, very well maintained. Mine personally does not look like this. So, in case you want to have a minute where you go, oh goodness, I could never keep a garden looking like that. Most of us couldn't either. I mean, some people can and some people can't, but we try to keep it from looking like this too, but this could be in between seasons. So this is a great set of raised beds. That's fallow for a little bit. So anyway, wherever your garden is on the spectrum, you can get it happy again and make it happy for this growing season. Just remember that everything dies in the garden eventually. I mean, people die, pets die, and vegetables die. Uh, every single vegetable plant dies, whether it's from heat or cold or insects or disease or just because we ate it. So sometimes we might do things that hasten that, but sometimes not. So just remember to be kind to yourself as you go through this process because it is. Sometimes it's trial and error. Okay, one of the good things that you can do is do a vegetable garden, use a vegetable garden planting guide. This is what the one from Smith County looks like. I have one for Cherokee County. Undoubtedly, you guys have one for there as well. And those are really a window. Our planting guides give us a window. Part of the fun of East Texas is that our um, weather is variable every year. So we have some fun with that. Anyway, so the window isn't always open at the same time, but it's a good place to start. So, jumping into insects, there are lots of different kinds here in East Texas, literally tens of thousands of beetles. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. Um, some of them are curable on your plants and some of them aren't. But it's important to learn what you have. And a really good way to do that is take pictures and ask people. Ask your county agent, ask master gardeners, look on the internet, use Google Lens. The internet tools and Google Lens are not always going to be right, but it's a great place to start. It's a great place to start. Okay. On your cold crops, you are going to have some cabbage looper problems. That caterpillar is there and full of things to it just full of opportunity. That cabbage looper is going to be around. We grow so many cold crops that those are really just unavoidable unless you have a row cover on your garden. Um, you can add BT. You can add BT to put out on the surface of your plants, and that will help cut down. It's just for caterpillars, and that shortens their life, which hopefully will keep them from reproducing. So that's the issue with BT. So that's just one thing that you can look for there. This is on corn. You're having an insect just really snacking your corn up. Um, This could be grasshopper damage. Lots of good, lots of insects, good and bad, love to eat those corn leaves, those big straps. And this is, of course, this is a sphinx moth caterpillar, otherwise known as a hornworm. And you can see him there, very healthy and happy for now. But those little white pockets on his back, sticking up off his back, that's actually a parasitoid egg case. So this guy is not long for this world. He won't be turning into a moth and reproducing. He has been populated by a parasitoid wasp, and he's not going to be around here for long, which is good. That's when the system works together. That's always nice to see. This is evidence of a stem borer on squash, a squash stem borer. And the fun thing to know about them is they actually overwinter and pupate in the surface of the soil. So this is part of the reason why it's so important to actually rotate your crop, even if it's in a container. This is in a container, you can see that. Um, and mine were too. And you still can get stem borers in a container, even planting them in a container, and know that they can still live in that soil, in the container, that top 6 inches of the soil. So it's very important to rotate, and sometimes important to take care of the problem. It depends on how excessive your problem is for that. This is a really severe infestation of aphids. And all of these things that we're showing you, um, it's just so the more stressed a plant is, the more likely it is to get disease and insect pest problems. This infestation is obviously from it's stressing the plant out itself. I mean, what the aphids do is they literally suck the juice out of the plant. So they're busy sucking the life force out of the plant, and that's going to keep it from producing anything for you. You're going to have really reduced yield, and really your plants are not going to be vigorous at all if they even live past this. With aphids, you can do a really strong blast of water on, in this case, normally you would be hitting the lower leaves because that's where they live, but this is so bad that it's upper and lower leaves as well. And that kind of gives the plant a minute to take a breath. It does not solve an aphid problem this bad, but it gives it a minute to take a breath. Okay, spider mites are a hard one to see sometimes. We usually don't see spider mites until there's a much bigger problem. They tend to get this look right here, where the leaves, we call that stippling, where the green is being sucked out of the leaves, right? And that's exactly what's happening. The spider mites are feeding on the bottom of the leaf, and they are literally sucking the chlorophyll and everything out of that leaf. And they will eventually make a web. And so if you see the webbing, it depends on where it's at, but they make um, a different type of web than an actual spider does. They make a web that's more like a tent caterpillar web that is really protective and can be hard to treat them through. So if you see an area with webbing, sometimes it's best just to remove that and kill the spider mites. Anything that you treat spider mites with, you would definitely want to apply to the bottom sides of the leaves and also to the stems. Sometimes we feel like we'll try all kinds of things to take care of our insect problems. Integrated pest management is the way to go. And that is where we're providing the plants with the absolute best care and culture possible. But we're doing that in ways that are the least intrusive. We use only the most adapted varieties, only the varieties that are best adapted to our conditions. And if we go to use a chemical, it's going to be the most environmentally friendly product as possible to deal with that problem. We're going to use that first. And we're always going to apply those chemicals, whether it's organic or man-made. We're always going to do it properly, we're going to do it safely, and we're going to do it according to the label. Okay, and the reason why is because we have bee friends, and and not just honeybees, which that's what this is. I love that you can see that that plant that it's on is called Claytonia. It's also called Spring Beauty. Um, uh, Sometimes they call it a fairy potato. But it's because the tubers are edible, but those plants are tiny. But I love that you can see the pollen in that bee's pollen sac, so you can see that it's pink. So anyway, I love that. Nature is amazing. It's also important to know the good guys, right? So knowing the bad guys, yes, that's important, but it's important to know the good guys. Of course, this is a praying mantis, and she is gravid, right? She's about to go lay an egg case somewhere. And this is one of the many species of lady beetles. We have several, including Asian lady beetles, which, despite the fact that they will pinch the dog fire out of you and it makes you think you've been bitten, they do actually, they're pinching with their front little mandibles. Pinch, pinch. Um, and they will try to come in your house. They love white walls. But they are still beneficials. They still feed on aphids and their young feeds on aphids. And this is what their young looks like right here. It looks like a little alligator. Um, Sort of, that's what they remind me of. But so if you see these little alien looking critters on your plants, you would definitely want to, know that the cycle is trying to right itself. Um, if the aphid infestation is really bad, you will definitely get some beneficial bugs in there to help balance that out. But understand that if your infestation of aphids is really bad, you're just having the beneficials in there is not going to be enough for you to get a good harvest. So that's something to consider. Sometimes we like to let Mother Nature do what she does, especially if it's on a plant of an ornamental, um, because I like for that cycle to go through the way that it's supposed to go. But, but, um, I'm not trying to eat anything from it. If the infestation is that bad, um, frequently you'll lose your yield on it. So try to keep that plant healthy and happy so that the bug population doesn't get too big. We only treat when the population gets big enough that it's really going to inhibit how much yield we get. So that's something to consider. Also a good guy. I love these garden spiders. Some people call them banana spiders. Um, I enjoy these every year. They are excellent um, bug catchers. They love grasshoppers and will just absolutely help keep that population down. So this is not one of those I like to move away or get rid of. I keep this one around unless it's right beside my hummingbird feeder. And this guy, this lizard, it's an anal. And that when I was little, my mom used to tell me he was showing his money pouch. when he would spread that colored pouch open on his throat. He was showing his coin bag. Uh, anyway, so they're doing that, trying to see, hey baby, pick me. So anyway, but they're good. They're definitely going. They are non-selective, just like the spiders. These guys will eat caterpillars, whether it's a eastern swallowtail caterpillar or the bad guy caterpillar or whatever. These guys are non-specific, but they definitely are beneficial in the garden. And of course, our lovely toads that are eating flies and all of that stuff. So that's part of the natural way that balance happens in our gardens. Okay, there are so many cultural practices, though, that help reduce pesticide use. And the way that they help reduce pesticide use is by keeping the plants as stress-free as possible, using healthy soils, soils appropriate for our area, and fertilizing appropriately in them, using resistant varieties. Um, if you've got a tomato problem, use a variety that's resistant to that problem. Changing our planting time. If you find that your squash always gets squash bugs, when you do a spring planting, switch it to a summer planting or a fall planting of squash. To do it that way. Look at that for your potato bugs and other things. Tweak your planting time to make it not available for when the bugs are most available. Definitely, definitely proper watering, which we're going to talk a little bit more about, because that's where the heaviest stress comes in. Soil fertility, you want everything to have as much fertilizer as it needs, and using proper sanitation. And that's just if it's infested, take it out. If it has a heavy disease problem, take it out. If you trimmed things off, remove them from the garden. Doing weed control helps immensely because bugs live in those weeds, and also doing diverse planting. Try not to give a bug a buffet. You don't want to plant a long line of squash because the bug's going to go squash to squash to squash to squash. Try to give it some variety so that whatever bug is attacking at that moment is going to go, oh, this is the only one here. And it won't necessarily hop that 4 feet to get to it. That's something to think about. These are beautifully fertilized. That's how you get them to be big and healthy. You see that the weeds are maintained at a proper distance from the plant. And there's straw mulch down there. These are in planters. And so you have everything working together to make a happier environment for these to grow and produce for you. Okay, there's an excellent website that's a good help for that. It's Aggie Horticulture. Um, you can find out so much on there, whether it's care of a particular crop, squash or tomatoes or sweet potatoes or whatever it is, care of a particular crop, how to take care of fruit trees, um, what to do if you have certain leaf problems on your tomatoes or on your squash. There are so many options there. So check out the Aggie Horticulture website because you can get so many questions answered. Okay, there are tons and tons, like I said, of vegetable resources on there. The easy gardening crop list, as well as the problem solvers. Excellent, excellent process there for you. Um, this is what the easy gardening resources look like when you click on that to open it up, and you can, my goodness, how to fertilize, how to establish your garden, what harvesting and handling looks like, watering, mulching, all of it is available there. Insect control is one of those Easy Garden fact sheets. Okay, so it's right there. Okay, for diseases, there are so many different kinds, more than we can cover here really adequately. Some of them are preventable and some of them are not. Um, it's good to learn what they are. It's good to learn how to prevent it if you can, and when you should pull them up and destroy them. Never, never leave a problem there, because it will, without question, breed more problems. As insects feed on it, they spread to nearby plants, and that spreads the disease. So it's always good to remove and destroy diseased plants. Hey, this is a great example. This is probably wilt or a severely infested blight. Um, all of which is possible. If this is late or early blight, it has gone on a long time. But looking at the leaves at the bottom, I would say this is definitely a case of blight because the leaves at the top are not wilted. If this was one of the fungal or bacterial wilts, the whole plant would be wilting with the leaves at the bottom looking like that. So this is blight, and fungal diseases like that can definitely be a problem. You cannot cure it at all, but there are things you can do to help prevent it. Okay? Insects can be cured sometimes, but diseases have to be prevented. There's no cure, there's only prevention. Okay, tomato spotted wilt disease is a virus, and virus have absolutely the least amount of, um, there's nothing to even help control a virus. And the way that you can tell that it has it are these concentric rings on the fruit. And in some cases, you might have insect damage that looks like that, like stink bug or leaf-footed bug feeding, but it doesn't have that extra row of rings. Like it'll create a circular spot, but it doesn't have those extra target rings in it. Okay, so it's the same thing. You can see those rings on other parts of the plant as well. It is spread by an insect, of course, so definitely an issue. Hmm. This is a great example of root knot nematodes, and you can see the little swollen nodules on the roots, and that's actually where the female nematodes go and they dig into the roots and they make a little home in there and they lay eggs and reproduce. But the males and the young, male and female, swim through the moisture in the soil moisture. They swim through that to find another place on the roots, and the female young find a home and go in and go about reproducing in there. So, um, this is one of those things that is it's prevalent in sandier soils, and it's something that you would notice with wilt on your plants, but you would not be able to really say, "Oh, I've got nematodes," unless you pull the plant up and look at the roots. So that's one of the ways you would find this. Um, there are resistant varieties of tomatoes that you can put out for this, and sometimes other garden vegetables. There are what you call trap crops to help um, keep the nematodes, the bad ones, over there, which is something to consider as well. So there are different ways around the nematode issue, but that's what it looks like. Okay, this is again in that easy gardening section that I was just talking about. There is a section on diseases, and so you can check that out to read up on them. Okay, watering your garden. Remember I said that the less stress the garden has, the better your plants will perform and the healthier they will be. Their plants are just like us. When we get so much extra stress, we're so much more prone to getting sick. Plants are no different. Water is a big source of stress, whether it's too much. Maybe your yard is still in standing water like mine was. I mean, like mine is right now. We just had all that rain this weekend, and I 100% have plants sitting in water in my backyard. That is very stressful on the plants because when the roots are sitting in water, the nutrient exchanges and things that need to happen can't happen. So that actually stresses the plant out a lot and kills off part of the roots. On the flip side, when you don't have enough water, you have the opposite problem. Those roots, it needs all those little tiny feeder roots that it lost in flooding. It needs those feeder roots to be able to find the additional water. So in either case, the plant is experiencing a time when it does not have the water that it needs within the cells to make a healthy plant or a healthy fruit. So that's an issue. So, watering in our garden is exactly how we can combat that. Depending on how much you apply, how you apply it, and when you apply it, garden water can be good or bad on your garden. And so it's just one more little piece of our puzzle to making a good and healthy garden. Okay. What does it mean when we water? We're maintaining adequate soil moisture. Whether you do it with a sprinkler, whether you do it as flooding, or whether you do it through a drip system, we need to be able to get water to those plants while they're growing. Seedlings and young transplants need more frequent watering, and you need to avoid stress on them. Um, Again, we just want to make sure they have adequate water when they need it. Sprinklers are pretty common. Um, they're not always the best thing for a garden. They're fine for grass, but that can lead to moisture on the leaves of your garden vegetables, which leads to disease. You want to make sure that no matter how you're watering your garden, it's best if you do it in the morning. And the reason why is because the water then has enough time to evaporate off of the leaves of your plants before we get that heavy dew set. The reason being, all those diseases need are like 6 or 8 hours on the presence of the leaf to reproduce. So we're trying to cut down on that. We want the water in the soil where the plant can most benefit from that. This is a great example of what it looks like when you flood water. You see that the plants are hilled up, and you can see that it's the water is going up onto that hill. Of course, that looks like morning glory, which, boy, but this is a great way to see how that water looks as it's going up. So that's what it looks like when we have a hilled garden and we're doing side watering, flood watering, where it climbs up the side to the plant roots. This is a great example of drip irrigation. It's where you see that the soil is only moist where we have an exit in that tubing for water to come out in that location. And so this is a great way to travel water long distances in your garden, but to only water what you want to water in there. Drip irrigation is extremely efficient. So it's something to think about. Is one of the very best ways to water. Of course, sometimes in the springtime it feels like this, you know, but, but so knowing when to water is key. Okay, there is a document in our Easy Gardening series that teaches you about watering your vegetables. Mulching is a huge thing. Mulching cools the Mulching cools the soil, it conserves the moisture, it reduces weeds, and it promotes root growth. Um, as it breaks down, it improves the soil, it reduces compaction, and it reduces the presence of soil-borne diseases because it creates a layer between the soil and the plant or the fruit. So when there's rain or whatever, you don't get that splash up from the soil. You've got a barrier there. Shredded leaves work, wheat straw, rice straw, pine needles, composted grass clippings, native native mulch, bags of native mulch. That all works. You don't really want to use hay. That's why specifically here it's listed straw. So hay is a fine mulch, except that you're going to have seeds from the hay. And most of our hay is Bermuda or Bahia. And we don't really want to introduce that into our gardening area because it can be a monster to take care of either one of those. So we want to use things to mulch that reduce our maintenance, not add to it. Okay, you see it's got pine straw. We've got it's one plant in a container, and it's got pine straw, and it's got something to hold the fruit up off the ground. So this is going to be a healthy, happy tomato. I think a lot of us are guilty of planting too many plants in a container, and that does always increase their stress because then they're competing for that. Um, if there's only one glass of water and four plants trying to drink it, everybody's only going to get a tiny, tiny sip. Okay, this is a great example of a healthy garden. You can see the mulch, pine bark and leaves, not pine bark, but pine straw and leaves at his feet and over around all the garden. So this garden is happier for the mulch that it's got down there. There are also other ways to get information. Texas Gardener Magazine is an excellent resource. Greg writes for Texas Gardener. I write for Texas Gardener. Keith Hansen. There are some incredibly talented people who share their information and knowledge through Texas Gardener. And so whatever your crop desires are, this is a great resource. So something else to look at. All right, so that is the end of our advice on insects, disease, and watering.